unconscious bias is learned beliefs, attitudes, and stereotypes about a particular race that result in harmful or preferential treatment of members of that race. So this is a great depiction of, what Sarah said. A lot of us want to be seen as good non-racist, good people in our conscious mind. We don't have any conscious access to the way our racism shows up. But below the surface is a large swath in the unconscious mind, the unconscious programming of growing up in a society where we do not consciously ingest racism, but it lives in our unconscious minds.
Significant root cause is that our society teaches a binary view of racism. We learn to sort people into two categories. You're either a bad racist or you are a good non-racist. And we think that this binary view, which has been described by Robin DiAngelo and some other researchers, is deeply embedded in our thinking. And it's this huge barrier to leaders in schools and districts being able to talk about and address racism directly.
And so racism, as Beverly Daniel Tatum says, is like smog in the air. We breathe it every day, often unconsciously. And that really affects the way in which we interact with each other and interact with people of different races. So it's often beyond our control because of our deep, rich history of racism in this country and the way that it's formed the way in which we have developed different institutions and different ways of interacting, that it's really embedded within us from a very, very young age. And so it's just like the smog we breathe. So it means that we have to actively work to undo these vestiges of unconscious racial bias and really pay attention to how they show up in us and in others.
In our experience, this framing, this acknowledging of good intentions and then setting them aside as irrelevant can change the conversation, because it means that someone like me, a white person, can stop spending energy defending my character as a good person, and instead I can start to investigate the ways that I am unconsciously preferencing my white students, the way I am unconsciously treating my Black and brown students with more suspicion, less empathy, lower expectations. And I'm doing this over and over, day after day. So we make the case in this book that teaching people about unconscious racial bias helps educators focus on their impact without getting all defensive about intentions and shutting conversations down. If we as educators care about our students, we want to know how racism is impacting our behavior. We want to know how to interrupt that. So ultimately, focusing on understanding our unconscious racial biases, understanding our own racism, is empowering and helps us do the work that we aspire to do.